Welcome to the This Week in Astrology video forecast. This is episode number 68 for the first half of May 2016. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Benjamin Bernstein of astroshaman.com, coming to you from Asheville, North Carolina. I'm an astrologer, shamanic healer, and awakening activator, and it's my pleasure to bring you these semi-monthly astrology forecasts. So, what's new? We've got in the first half of May major abundance opportunities with 3 Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trines and a peaking Jupiter-Saturn-Neptune T-square. That's one of the biggest events of the year coming to its peak. A Taurus new moon and Jupiter turning direct further amplify the prosperity vibe. What's old as we come in? A lot. We got a waning moon, lots of retrograde planets right now. Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, and Pluto. Mercury through May 22nd, Mars through June 29th. And again, that T-square with Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. We'll be talking more about that, and it is very much continuing. So, let's now move on to our individual days of the forecast. On Sunday, May 1st, Law of Attraction, Sacred Sexuality, and Embodied Awakening are enthusiastically energized with the Taurean Sun, sextile Neptune. That's the Sun at 12 Taurus, Neptune at 12 Pisces. No major astrology events on Monday, May 2nd. On Tuesday, May 3rd, the Sun-Jupiter trine, that's with the Sun at 13 Taurus, Jupiter at 13 Virgo, is part of the Sun-Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trine that's going to start up on May 5th, and I'll be telling you about that in just a moment so you can get it in its full context. Nothing to report on Wednesday, May 4th. Thursday, May 5th, the Grand Trine peaks with the Sun, Jupiter, and Pluto. Now, in fact, May features 3 Grand Trines featuring Jupiter and Pluto and a third planet, a personal planet in Taurus. The first one, a Sun-Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trine, peaks today. It started on April 29th. It ends on May 10th. All of these Grand Trines take their core meaning from the Jupiter-Pluto trine. This trine has been exact twice in the last 7 months, and I've interpreted it from a different perspective each time. I've edited these interpretations slightly to remove outdated content. Back on March 16th, I said, abundant prosperity and transformative spirituality are 2 great ways to take advantage of a Jupiter-Pluto trine. Other possibilities supported by this smooth and harmonious aspect include deepening your wisdom through higher education and immersing yourself into a foreign culture. And that's just the meaning of the naked planets. With Jupiter in Virgo, health and service to others can be transformed and powerfully amplified. This trine lasts nearly a year. Jupiter and Pluto came into orb, which means close enough to connect, on August 26th of 2015, and they will stay connected through August 16th of 2016. Now before that, on October 11th, 2015, I wrote, what's one thing Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have in common? Jupiter and Pluto connecting strongly in their natal charts. What else do they have in common? They're rich! These 2 billionaires benefit from natal Jupiter-Pluto conjunctions, but all of us can increase our prosperity under a Jupiter-Pluto trine. In this context, Pluto represents massive wealth and Jupiter represents expansion and luck. Of course, prosperity is not limited to money. With Jupiter in Virgo, abundance can show up as good health or the soul-deep satisfaction of appropriate service to others. A Jupiter-Pluto trine can also amplify sacred sexuality and deep transformation. Occult practices such as astrology, numerology, mediumship, psychic perception, and shamanism can also be energized. On one level, the personal planets forming these 3 Grand Trines act as triggers to fire all this up. Each personal planet also adds its particular meaning into the mix. Now, the 3 Grand Trines overlap as follows. The Sun-Jupiter-Pluto began April 29th, peaks May 5th, and ends May 10th. Mercury-Jupiter-Pluto begins May 6th, peaks on the 16th of May, and again peaks on May 28th, and then it ends on June 6th. The double peak is due to Mercury turning direct on May 22nd. Finally, the Venus-Jupiter-Pluto begins May 7th, peaks on May 12th, and ends on May 17th. So, at least one of these Grand Trines is in effect every day in May. This gives you plenty of time to take advantage of this rich array of archetypal opportunities. These Grand Trines will send you a certain amount of the energy that I've described as a gimme. This is because the planets in this aspect pattern connect easily and automatically. But if you want maximum benefit, you need to mine the trines. The more effort you put into them, the more riches they'll return. So, what unique flavor does the Sun add in its Grand Trine peaking today? Well, the sun is the biggest radiating body in the solar system, so broadcast whichever of these energies you resonate with for the benefit of others. On Friday, May 6th, May's new moon lines up at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 16 degrees 41 minutes Taurus. Any Taurus new moon is great for new beginnings in sensuality, perseverance, relaxation, connection with nature, and just being. By far, the most important aspects to this Taurus new moon are the members of the Sun-Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trine that I've just talked about at such length. So please review that if you need to. Also, this Grand Trine is expanded into a kite by the addition of the South Node in Pisces. Now, kite points give Grand Trines, which are naturally balanced configurations, a directional focus they would not otherwise have. The South Node represents what you've brought forward into this lifetime from your DNA or past lives, or both. This includes psychological wounds and old karma. In a flowing configuration such as this kite, clearing this old shadow material can be easier than usual. The South Node also represents positive, life-affirming energies. In Pisces, this could represent spiritual and creative gifts you've previously developed. Letting these areas blossom should be very much in the flow. What about other aspects? Well, this new moon conjoins retrograde Mercury. What new beginnings would serve you in learning, writing, or speaking? With Mercury in Taurus, nonverbal communication, such as instrumental music or dancing, is also supported. A loose conjunction to Vesta asks what concrete efforts you're making toward the ideals you support. Finally, a tight quincunx from Saturn indicates that you might hit a roadblock or two as you move forward with all this, but making the appropriate adjustments should put you back in the fast lane. This new moon Sabian symbol is a symbolic battle between swords, the disciples of might, and torches, the disciples of enlightenment. In the context of this new moon, Pluto would represent the swords and Jupiter, the enlightenment. The trine between Pluto and Jupiter, as well as the word symbolic, suggests that this battle doesn't need to be fought at all. When the exercise of might is guided by enlightened awareness, everybody's on the same side. The more consistently and deeply you embody enlightenment, the more powerful your actions become. Egoic decision-making is always subject to error, but I've found that my inner divine guidance is always right on. I recommend that you listen to your intuition when it speaks and follow its guidance. Also, on Friday, May 6th, May's second Grand Trine kicks off today, as I already mentioned. This Mercury-Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trine begins today on May 6th. It peaks on May 16, peaks again on the 28th of May, ends on June 6th. So again, I've already talked about this at length in terms of the basic meaning of what Jupiter and Pluto bring to it all. With Mercury in the mix, learning, communication, and short-range travel are also energized. On Saturday, May 7th, May's third and final Grand Trine kicks off today. This Venus-Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trine peaks on May 12th. It ends on May 17th. Once again, I've already given you the big picture of what the Grand Trines mean. In addition to the Taurean themes already discussed in that interpretation, the presence of Venus flows smooth energy to support relationships and creativity. A secondary effect of this configuration is that it could bring challenges in relational and creative areas that do not serve your highest good. Trines are not always necessarily happy things, but they do connect things smoothly, whatever the things are. Also on Saturday, May 7th, the Sun-Pluto trine that is exact today is part of that Sun-Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trine I already talked about. Nothing to report on Sunday, May 8th. On Monday, May 9th, one of 2016's most important astrological events peaks, a Jupiter-Saturn-Neptune T-square. This powerful aspect pattern lasts nearly 4 months. It began on March 5th, peaks today, and ends on July 1st. The rest of this interpretation pretty much copies what I said about that aspect pattern back on March 5th. I'm repeating it here for your convenience. Even an aspect pattern containing slower planets such as these would not usually last so long, but all 3 planets change direction while the T-square is active, making its extended run possible. Astrology's hard aspects may be challenging, but they're not bad. Nothing stimulates action better than hard aspects, and a T-square, a geometrical right triangle, contains a 180-degree opposition and 2 90-degree squares. So, what action can you take under this Jupiter-Saturn-Neptune T-square? For starters, this can energize law of attraction work in a big way. In the context of manifestation, Neptune represents visualization and Saturn represents crystallization. Jupiter amplifies this effect and can even add a measure of good luck. Since you're a human being in a free will zone, you can use this enhanced law of attraction juju to reshape the highly convincing hologram we call reality, however you wish. Many have found my free article, The Law of Attraction Made Simple, helpful in manifesting their desires. That's at astroshaman.com. If you just go to the search box in the upper right corner, type Law of Attraction Made Simple, it should come right up for you. But if you want to take full advantage of this T-square's astrological support, consider the mutable signs that these three planets occupy throughout the T-square. Jupiter's in Virgo, Saturn in Sagittarius, Neptune in Pisces. A law of attraction outcome that combines some archetypal possibilities of these three signs would receive special support. While there are a lot of creative ways to blend these energies, here are some worthwhile combinations you might want to manifest. Expanded spiritual service, inspired creative refinement, crafting and implementing a plan to bring more divine consciousness into your religious practice, letting the flow of divine inspiration guide you to a disciplined, wisdom-expanding educational opportunity, formal or self-guided, embarking on an adventurous path of divinely guided service, making a habit of doing things that help you embody more divine joy. Another way to make use of this T-square is to deepen your spiritual embodiment, sometimes referred to as ascension or the marriage of heaven and earth. In this context, Neptune is divine consciousness, while Saturn is physical embodiment. Jupiter once again provides amplified support. I've been consciously deepening my spiritual embodiment for about 5 years and know hundreds of others on this path who are enjoying the same or similar benefits. For me, surrendering ever more deeply to my inner guidance is the most important and rewarding thing I do. I enjoy ever-increasing amounts of harmony, flow, ease, and grace. More and more, I just know things intuitively instead of having to figure them out. Mental chatter and negative emotions are increasingly rare, allowing me to enjoy more equanimity and positive feelings. I know lots of people who can get to ecstatic states by doing spiritual practices, but lose those sweet feelings once they ground back into physical reality. Spiritual embodiment brings both worlds together. It lets you experience the bliss of your divine presence along with all the benefits I've talked about as you go through your regular daily activities. My free Heal and Awaken invocations have given many people a quick, easy, and effective way to deepen their spiritual embodiment. If you'd like ongoing support in this process by phone or by web, I also offer Ease, the Embodied Awakening Support Experience. And you can link to that from the homepage of astroshaman.com. It should be in the What's New section. There are many wonderful paths that can help you awaken or deepen your spiritual integration. Do whatever works best for you. You know, funny thing about us humans, even when the advantages of moving in a new direction are obvious, we can still be slow to let go of what we know. This can be true even when our comfort zone keeps getting less and less comfortable. That's why you may not be thrilled right off the bat about another powerful way that this Jupiter-Saturn-Neptune T-square can work: structural disintegration. In this context, Saturn is structure, Neptune is dissolution, and Jupiter once again amps the whole thing up. During this T-square, notice how the important structures in your life are faring. These could be physical, relational, or conceptual. Are they holding steady with strong energetic support? Then it's probably in alignment, and your sole purpose is good to keep them in place. But if they're dissolving away, consider whether it might be best to release them, or perhaps a conscious restructuring could re-energize them. As an old Zen story teaches, you cannot pour fresh tea into a cup that's already full. And as the four seasons remind us, everything has a time to be born, grow, and mature, and, inevitably and appropriately, a time to wither and die. Keep your life vital and aligned with your soul purpose by releasing everything in your life that has outlived its usefulness. Inspired reconstruction follows structural disintegration, just as day follows night. For more on this, you can go back to that law of attraction information I talked about a moment ago. Also, on Monday, May 9th, Jupiter turns direct at 13 degrees 15 minutes Virgo. This is a great time to move forward in the areas of higher education, teaching, and publishing. You can also begin acting on any thoughts you've been having regarding philosophy, religion, and the meaning of life. And be sure to make time to celebrate. With Jupiter in Virgo, you can also pour new energy into health, service, and refinement. Additionally, on Monday, May 9th, your creative muse should be singing to you loud and clear with Venus sextile Neptune. That's Venus 12 Taurus, Neptune 12 Pisces. This aspect also adds smooth energy to law of attraction manifestation, deepening your inner divine connection, and recognizing spirit at the heart of everything in the physical world. And still more on this very busy Monday, May 9th, learning, communication, writing, and salesmanship are energized by a Sun-Mercury conjunction at 19 Taurus. On Tuesday, May 10th, you can pour fresh energy into your feminine assertiveness, strategic planning, and service to a higher cause, thanks to a Mars-Pallas Athena-Vesta T-square. This dynamic aspect pattern starts today on May 10th, it peaks on May 20th, and it ends on May 25th. With Mars and Pallas in the Sagittarius-Gemini axis of communication, perhaps your actions will include sharing helpful information. Also, on Tuesday, May 10th, today's Venus-Jupiter trine is part of the Venus-Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trine that started on May 7th, and again, I've already told you all about that. On Wednesday, May 11th, a Venus-Saturn quincunx, Venus 15 Taurus, Saturn 15 Sagittarius, could throw out stumbling blocks in your relationships, creativity, and finances, but persistence and creative adjustment should keep you heading in the right direction. On Thursday, May 12th, today's Mercury-Pluto trine, Mercury 17 Taurus, Pluto 17 Capricorn, is part of that grand trine with Mercury, Jupiter, and Pluto that I've already told you about. Also on Thursday, May 12th, the Venus-Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trine that started on May 7th peaks today. Again, that's Thursday, May 12th, and it wraps on the 17th of May. On Friday, May 13th, creative writing, harmonious communication, and pleasant learning are all supported by a Mercury-Venus conjunction at 17 Taurus. Also, on Friday, May 13th, today's Venus-Pluto trine, Venus 17 Taurus, Pluto 17 Capricorn, is part of the Venus-Jupiter-Pluto Grand Trine that started on May 7th, and again, I've already spoken about that. Also, on Friday, May 13th, embodied awakening and creative inspiration are magically supported by a Sun-Neptune quintile, Sun 24 Taurus, Neptune 12 Pisces. On Saturday, May 14th, put your gifts as a healer, mentor, shaman, or awakener to use as the Sun sextiles Chiron, Sun 24 Taurus, Chiron 24 Pisces. With the Sun in Taurus, hands-on modalities receive special support. And finally, there are no significant astrological events on Sunday, May 15th. What's coming up on my forecast video for the second half of May? All about that in a second. But first, I wanted to give you a couple of quick announcements. I just did a astrological profile of Prince on my podcast for this same period of time, first half of May. You can go check that out and link to it from astroshaman.com. I spent 40 minutes astrologizing him, went deep on his natal chart and how it supports all of his significant attributes as a person and as a performer. We also looked at several significant transits, such as the release of purple rain and other significant events in his life. So if you're into Prince and you want to see the astrology underlying what he did, then that should be very edifying for you. Ease, the embodied awakening support experience I mentioned a moment ago. I wanted to tell you just a touch more about that. That incorporates weekly events via phone or web to help you enjoy more harmony, grace, and flow in your life, eliminate suffering, increase your intuition and synchronicity, stop mental chatter and challenging emotions, live each day in a peaceful, awakened state, enjoy support from kindred spirits on your journey, and much more. An online recording library lets you experience the life-transforming power of ease anytime. And if you're in the Asheville, North Carolina area, I do a Shamanic Awakening meetup every third Tuesday. And that's all the announcements. So let me tell you now what we'll be covering on our next video. We have a lot of significant events firing up in the second half of May. We have 2 grand crosses involving that Jupiter-Saturn-Neptune T-square I already talked about on this show. The Sun and Venus both come in and create a 4th planet that creates a whole grand cross, which is a geometrical square. That'll amp that up further. We're going to have Jupiter square Saturn. Mercury turns direct. That means it ends its retrograde. We're going to have a full moon in Sagittarius. That grand trine with Mercury, Jupiter, and Pluto will be coming to another peak. In fact, both of the peaks will be taking place in the second half of May. Another T-square with the Sun, Mars, and Pallas. That'll be firing up and peaking. Venus opposing Mars. That's always great for creativity and relationship. Pluto square series. It goes on and on. Sun entering Gemini, Mars entering Scorpio. We got a lot to talk about. It'll be a juicy show. And of course, my job will be to be here and give you the best use of all these powerful astrological events. I hope you'll join me. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my Benjamin Bernstein YouTube channel to be notified when I post new videos. And if you like this video, please share it. This free video forecast is a partner project with iTunes #1 astrology audio podcast, This Week in Astrology. It's also free. You can get my semi-monthly astrology forecast in writing by subscribing to my free email newsletter at astroshaman.com. Once you're there, you can also link to my Facebook page where I post daily forecasts. My personal services include astrology, shamanic healing, and awakening activation. All are equally effective in person or long distance. In fact, I do about 90% of my work over the phone or by Skype. My guarantee makes my service risk-free. If you don't feel that your experience was helpful, there's no charge. I also offer other great products and services, many of which are free. To learn more, visit astroshaman.com. Thanks again for watching. I wish you infinite blessings as the stars light your way.